of bond paper. Only one piece. So that I could minimize the number of papers I would be printing. Okay, so pwede ba ayusin nyo isa lang papel? No? So, cameras on. Ipwesto na yung mga camera. Ready?
Wait lang. Ma'am, gagamit po ka na ng pangalawang device po.
Sige.
Ma'am, hello po, Mendoza po. Nawalan po ako ng net. Nag-2G po bigla yung net ko.
Na-absenan ba kita? O, sige.
Opo, ma'am.
Sige, sige.
Pero hindi po ako late
Okay. Makitid. Ano ba? 10:36 na makitid eh.
Ano po, ma'am? Yung pangalawang device po.
Okay, sige.
Thank you po.
And also, Miss Sigiro. Umalis naman.
Ma'am, may rin po device.
Sige, pasok mo na. Plaza, Salvador, Mendoza,
Ma'am, dalawa rin po yung akin.
Okay, nag-e-echo na kayo. Magkalapit yata yung devices ninyo. Sige, ready? One question should be answered in 3 minutes. So for 10 minutes only. We'll have the quiz for 10 minutes only. Okay, I'll be presenting it now. Pakiayos sa mga papel. Gortisa ang nakikita ko, mukha mo. Okay. So actually, this is the start of lesson 2. Pero quiz muna tayo. Yan. There are only 3 questions. 3 minutes each. And an additional 1 minute. So, good for 10 minutes. Copy muna. Copy. In 2 minutes. Copy. And then I will remove that one. Okay, the timer starts now for you to be able to copy. 2 minutes, go. Last 1 minute to copy. Okay, time is up. Okay. So we will now proceed to the time of answering. The timer starts now. 10 minutes.
Ma'am, pwede pong pa-flash po yung questions kasi po nawala po yung connection ko kanina.
Mhm. Dali lang ah. Ayan, Mr. Balyebar. Saglit lang ha, 30 seconds lang. Kita na?
Okay na po, ma'am. Salamat po.
Okay. Last 2 minutes, guys. Last 1 minute. Five, four, three, two, one. Okay na? Hello? Done? Hello?
Pwede na
Okay
picture.
na. Okay. So, the time now is 10:51. So, 10:54, dapat nasa akin na yan. 10:51, so 10:54, dapat nasa akin na yan. 3 minutes. Pakiayos ang nahihirapan na naman akong, ano niyan, magbasa. Hirap na naman ako magbasa. Okay, it's 10:54 now. So, guys, wala nang magpapadala. Tapos na, no? So, dapat all your papers nasa akin na. Okay. So, I will be sending the first lesson right after our classes. Hello? Ano ba, guys? Ayos na? So, let us proceed to the second lesson, no? Second lesson. First lesson is the introduction. Labasan pa rin ng labasan. First lesson, we define transmission lines, then we analyze some types of transmission lines, and then we differentiated the transmission lines. And I introduced to you by way of pictures as well as the characteristics of the transmission lines. Now, for lesson 2, let us go deeper in the analysis of transmission lines. Now, this time, you will be studying the opposition offered by the transmission lines, which is called characteristic impedance. Now, how do we solve for the characteristic impedance? What is characteristic impedance then? So let me present now. By the way, for a while. Okay. Can you see the presentation now?
Yes po.
Yeah. As you can see from the presentation, this is the equivalent circuit of a transmission lines. Remember that a transmission lines could be a balanced line or unbalanced line. Diba? Recall, pag sinabing balanced line, quiz natin kanina, dalawang parallel wires. No? For unbalanced line, pwedeng isa lang, isa lang talaga yung hotline, and then the shielding would provide the ground for it. Whatever type of transmission lines it may be, this is the equivalent circuit, no? So as you can see, there are series of components, no? RL and parallel component C, no? So ganyan, how many R, how many L in series would you be drawing? If I ask you to draw the equivalent circuit of a transmission lines, do you need to draw this much? Not necessarily. Isang resistor, isang inductor na naka-series, isang capacitor na naka-parallel, as well as the opposite of R, which is G. Dapat ito ay maliit na resistance lang kasi R is 1 over G. Okay? Then, sa ibaba, ayan, meron ka pa uling naka-series na RL. Ito lang isang ito. Actually, kahit yung nasa baba na pag meron ka nang naka-series sa itaas, pwede na series na R sa itaas, series na L, kahit wala na ito. No? Ang mahalaga is, ang equivalent circuit talaga ng transmission lines is series resistance, series inductance, parallel capacitance, and the G, no? The G. Conductance ito. Now, any question? So kahit anong type ng transmission lines, kahit pa yung nakalagay sa PCB or planar type transmission lines, still this is the equivalent circuit. No? So you have to commit this to memory. Now, hanggang 3 lang ba yan, ma'am? Hanggang 3 lang na nakaparallel, tapos 3 nakaseries, na ganyan, na set? No. This is iterative. Ibig sabihin ay for as long as you can draw na mayroon kang nakaganyan series, may nakaparallel, that is the equivalent of this of any transmission lines. Question. Equivalent circuit yan ng transmission lines, no? So, may resistor, may inductor, may capacitor. So, to continue, alamin natin kung bakit merong resistance, no? Kung bakit may resistor na symbol ng resistor na nandito. Of course, you know that resistor offers resistance. Inductor offers inductance, and capacitor offers capacitance. Definitely, inductance offered by the inductor is not an opposition. Capacitance offered by a capacitor is not an opposition. So what is the opposition offered by coil? Mr. Lafuente. Ano nga ba ulit yung opposition na ino-offer ng coil?
Ma'am, para ma-secure po yung para for
Yeah,
ano
what
po.
do we call the opposition offered by coil? Or inductor?
Ma'am,
Mr.
ano yung question ulit?
What is the opposition offered by inductor? Nangyari.
For ma'am, pagkakaalala ko ma'am for inductance po. Para
For inductance. Okay. So, Mr. Lumabas ito si Magnaye. Nandiyan ka na ba, Magnaye?
Yes po, ma'am.
Okay. What is the opposition offered by capacitor? Ang tanong ko kay Lafuente, inductor capacitor sa'yo. Mr. Magnaye. Oh, nangyari? Nasa palengke ka ba, Mr. Magnaye? Batang ingay sa lugar mo. Hindi ka matututo niyan. Mr. Magnaye, naghahanap ka pa dyan sa internet eh. O sige. Pag hindi alam, sabihin. Hindi naman graded ito eh. Mr. Belen.
Hello po. Ako po.
Uy,
Ano?
Belen, ikaw ang choppy, Mr.
hindi ko kainis, tinawag ako eh. Wala tuloy akong sagot.
Wait lang,
Lafuente,
may naka-open.
patayin mo ang inyong ano. Mr. Belen. Ah,
Capacitive reactance po ba, ma'am?
ha?
Capacitive reactance po ba, ma'am?
Teka, are you asking me or telling me?
Ayun po.
Okay, correct. Sus Maria Josep. Ang resistance, meron siyang property, ang resistor, meron siyang property na resistance. Tama? Ano ang opposition na ino-offer niya? Resistance. Ang inductor, may property siya na tinatawag na inductance. Property yun ha, pero hindi yun ang opposition niya. Ang opposition ng inductor ay inductive reactance. Yan ang tanong ko kay Mr. Lafuente. Pagka kayo mag-aaral, pumunta kayo sa isang lugar na tahimik. Otherwise, di kayo matututo. No? Yung tanong ko naman kay Magnaye, ang capacitor may property na capacitance, pero hindi iyon ang kanilang ang opposition ng capacitor. Tama si Mr. Belen, ang opposition ng capacitor ay capacitive reactance. Okay? Reactances are opposition. Okay? Reactances are opposition. Guys, you listen carefully because we will now move on to the analysis of characteristic impedance in which I will be deriving. Kaya nga lang hindi ko na, wala akong panulat, so nakasulat na dyan sa screen ninyo yung magiging output. Unlike na mag-face-to-face tayo, as I derive the equation, I could ask you why so and so, no? So listen carefully at medyo marami-rami tayo ditong sa subject na ito ay maraming i-derive at maraming equations na gagamitin in analysis of the characteristics of transmission lines. Okay? So, ulit, iba ang inductance sa inductive reactance, no? Iba ang capacitance sa capacitive reactance. Ang inductance is the property of coil to produce electromagnetic induction in itself. Capacitance naman is the property of two parallel conductors, ano? Property yan ng basta dalawang parallel na conductor, meron niyang capacity or capacitance. Furthermore, ang inductance is the property of coil to oppose any change in voltage, no? Any change in current, I should say. Sorry, nakaseries nga pala yan. It opposes any change in current. Pag ang current ay pakanan, pipigilin niya. Gusto niya pakaliwa. Pag ang current ay pakaliwa, pipigilin niya. Gusto niya pakanan. Yun yung inductance. Any change in current. On the other hand, capacitance is the property of capacitor to oppose any change in voltage, no? Alam ko na pag-aralan nyo yan, kaya lang hindi ninyo iniintindi. Okay? So, pakiintindi naman. And the G is 1 over R, no? Conductance is the inverse of resistance. Okay? Kaya nakaparallel yan. Nakaparallel yan. Kasi kung yan ay resistance, pero ang symbol niya, resistance pa rin. Maliwanag ba yan? Ha? So, ibig sabihin, ang transmission lines pala ay puro opposition ang ino-offer. Correct. Opposition kanino? Ano ba yung opposition, ma'am? Opposition sa kuryenteng dadaloy sa transmission lines, no? Sa buhay na ito, okay, hindi pwedeng walang kontrabida. Hindi masaya ang buhay pag walang kontrabida, no? Huwag mo sasabihin na ikaw ay naandun na sa pag nasa langit ka na siguro walang kontrabida. Pero for as long as you are nandito sa mundo, palaging may kontrabida. O katulad din ito, lahat sila kontrabida sa kuryenteng dadaloy. No? So kaya yan yung equivalent lines equivalent circuit ng transmission lines. Dalawang wire lang yun. O kaya isang wire, coaxial cable. Ito ang equivalent niya. Kahit anong sabihin mo, yan ang equivalent niya. Clear. Maliwanag. Hello.
Yes po, ma'am.
Yes po, ma'am.
Yes po, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yan ang equivalent circuit niya. Ngayon, inuulit ko, kahit isang set lang, kahit ito lang, hindi mo na kailangan damihan, still that is the equivalent circuit of transmission lines. No? Ngayon, kung gusto kong damihan, ay di punuin mo ang papel mo, wala namang problema. For as long as nakasiris ang resistor at inductor, nakaparallel ang capacitor at conductance, no? Yan ay equivalent circuit ng transmission lines. Ulit, this is iterative throughout the length of the conductor, no? Paulit-ulit na ganyan throughout the entire length of the transmission lines. Okay, alamin naman natin, ba't nagkameron ng resistance yan? Ba't nagkameron ng inductance dyan? Nagkameron ng capacitor dyan as the equivalent circuit of transmission lines. Ito ang rason. Dahil ang conductor ay may haba, no? May length. Siyempre, it offers resistance. Pakitandaan, nag-aral kayo ng pag-compute ng resistance of wire na resistance of wire is equals to resistivity times the length divided by the cross-sectional area of the transmission lines, right? Di ba? So, inversely proportional yung area o yung cross-section. Alam nyo naman na palaging ang cross-sectional cross-section ng transmission lines ay bilog. So, we are always speaking of diameter, no? Or radius. Now, since ang conductor ay merong tawag dito, diameter. Ang diameter hindi lang nakaka-affect sa resistance, nakaka-affect din siya sa inductance. No? Do you still recall how do you compute for the L of a wire or inductance of a wire? Hindi ba permeability times the area squared times the number of turns divided by the length. This time, for inductance, the length is inversely proportional, no? So, inaral yan pinag-aralan nyo yan sa EE2, no? Sa AC circuits, pinag-aralan yan. Ewan ko lang kasi hindi na naman inintindi kaya nakalimutan. Or nakapasa na kaya kinalimutan. Okay, whatever it may be, bahala kayo, no? Now, bakit may capacitance? No? Ba't may capacitance? Kasi sabi ko nga kanina, ano ba ang capacitor? For as long as there are two parallel conductors separated by insulator, it qualifies for capacitance. Take note that in the equivalent circuit, no? Okay. Not in the equivalent circuit. Di ba sabi natin, for most lines, dalawang conductor yan. Separated by insulator. Hence, the transmission lines qualifies to have capacitance or capacity. Okay? So, resistance is due to the length of the wire. Inductance is due to the diameter of the wire, and capacitance is due to the two conductors being parallel to one another and separated by insulator. And, bakit may G? Bakit may conductance? Inilagay lang yan dyan. Pwede kasing ang equivalent circuit for your information is series R, series L, parallel C. Pwede wala na to, no? Ngayon, isiningit yan dyan to minimize leakage current, no? Leakage current. Ibig sabihin, no, for whatever reason, halimbawa dumadaloy dito ang kuryente sa taas, biglang nag-shortcut si kuryente, dumaan. Parang nawala ito, dumaan at pumunta sa kabila, no? So, di ba sabi natin, iba ang dumadaloy na kuryente sa itaas o sa isang conductor kesa dun sa another conductor in any transmission lines, no? So, kung maglamierda yung nandito, ay biglang, oops, tingnan ko nga, anong ginagawa ng kuryente doon? Dumaloy siya dyan. Kung wala ito, saglit lang, no? Pero para may opposition naman kung mag-shortcut dito, nilagyan ng parallel G, no? So the use of the conductance is to minimize leakage current. Now, let me introduce you to the parameters of a line. So, ang transmission lines pala, meron itong mga ito. Nabanggit na nga, kaya yun ang equivalent circuit niya. Resistance, the unit of which is ohm per unit length. Inductance, Henry per unit length. And the C or capacitance, which is farad, microfarad. By the way, it is not always, hindi naman talagang Henry, pwedeng, in most cases, microhenry yan, o millihenry, I should say. And for capacitance, in most cases, this is microfarad or picofarad, as the case may be, per unit length. And for the conductance, siyempre ang opposition, ang kanyang unit ay mo. Ikabaliktaran ng ohm, di ba? Mo or Siemens per unit length. So, ang isang transmission lines, whatever it may be, has all of these parameters. So, present siya. Present yan as in the equivalent, no? Kahit na anong sabihin, para bang, how do you say it, inherent na siya. Ando na, pagkagawa pa lang ng transmission na ando na yan. Mga parameters of the line. Question. Hello, are you still with me? Tanong.
Wala naman.
Okay, just butt in if you have any questions so far. So let us continue kung wala. Ma'am, types of transmission lines na yan na naman. Ang tinutukoy dito ng types of transmission lines, hindi yung as to physical construction, as per manufacturer, hindi. By this type of the lines, we are looking deeper into the characteristics of the line, such as attenuation, reflection, frequency, and of course, resistance. So as far as those characteristics are concerned, all transmission lines, actually, dalawa lang talaga ang classification ng transmission lines as far as those electrical characteristics are concerned. Lossless and lossy. Mamaya introduce ko sa iyo. Lossless and lossy. Ma'am, ba't wala pong lossy dyan? No? So, dun muna tayo sa ibang characteristics, no? So, lossless lines, as the name implies, ideal ito. Wala namang transmission lines na hindi nag-o-offer ng attenuation ng signal. Pag sinabi mong lossless ang transmission lines, ang ibig sabihin niyan, pag dumaan ang kuryente na 1 ampere, ang laki nun Kunwari lang, 1 amp para madali makita. 1 ampere dumaan sa transmission lines mo, nag-start, ano yan, limbawa yung transmission mo has a length of 10 kilometers. Haba, And nag-umpisa siya, pagpasok dun sa wire na yon, sa transmission lines na yon, 1 ampere, hanggang makarating dun sa 10 kilometers na dulo, ay 1 ampere pa rin yung kuryente. Walang nabawas kahit ano. Kaya nga, yung alpha dito, attenuation. Attenuation yan. So when a transmission lines is lossless, it means to say that there is no attenuation. Ano ba yung attenuation, ma'am? Yun na nga, hindi nababawasan. Attenuation is to lessen. To lessen. The current is never lessen. Hindi lang current. Kasi pag nagdaan na yung kuryente doon sa transmission lines, we're after the power delivered in the lines. So the power that the current has as it moves along the line, walang nababawas. So ibig sabihin, if a line is lossless, that is made in heaven. Gawa sa langit yun. Hindi totoo na may lossless lines. Now, ba't nilagay mo, ma'am, yan dyan? Kasi yan ang basihan. Yan ang basihan ng pagkukompute, ng pag-analyze ng mga transmission lines. Para rin yan na, ang gusto mong boyfriend ay magandang lalaki, matangkad, mayaman, at matalino. Aba, nasaan yun? Naandun pa yun sa langit. Naandun pa yun sa langit. There is no such thing present in a certain person. Lahat merong flaws. Lahat ng tao merong flaws. Okay? So, lossless transmission lines, the attenuation is 0. Ayan. Mamaya i-analyze pa rin natin ano pang ibang characteristics ng lossless transmission lines. Then, may transmission lines din na infinitely long lines. Yan, Hindi na ito ideal. Pero parang extreme naman to, Hindi naman lahat ng transmission lines ay hindi mo masukat kung gaano kahaba, Siyempre alam mo kung ilang kilometro yung gagamitin mo doon, ilang meters, ilang inches, ilang feet yung gagamitin mo, di ba? So it says here infinitely long. Ano naman ang sinasuggest niyan? Ang ibig sabihin ng infinitely long ay kahit na gaano kahaba, there is never occurrence of reflection. Walang reflection. Imposible yun. Habang tumatakbo ay ang mga electrons sa isang wire, sila ba ay lumalakad ba sila in straight line? Hindi. They are bumping one another. Kung ituro sa inyo yung fundamentals ng yung current, voltahe, ang electrons, di ba, ang current is the movement or flow of electrons. Hindi yun electrons na dumadaloy per se, na in straight line. Yun ay, they are bumping one another, At patalon-talon yung mga yan. Okay? So, there could always be reflection. At some point, it is minimized, but there is always reflection. So again, medyo ideal na naman itong infinitely long transmission lines. And the third is distortionless transmission lines. Ibig sabihin, pagdaan ng kuryente dun sa line, AC siya, sinusoidal wave paglabas niya at nakarating sa load, a perfect sinusoidal wave. Walang distortion sa sine wave. Napaka-imposible naman yan. So the characteristics involved here, attenuation, distortionless, attenuation is very small, and then characteristic impedance is small, and these two are independent of frequency of the signal flowing along the transmission lines. Okay? And then the fourth type of transmission lines is one which has low resistance. Or ibig sabihin, approximately the resistance is 0. There is no such transmission lines, no? So these are the types of transmission lines in which we will characterize. Each one of these I will be characterizing. So to continue, so first type, lossless lines. Ano ang mga nakikita? Ano yung mga features ng lossless lines aside from attenuation is 0? Ayan na. Resistance is 0, conductance is 0, therefore, the attenuation is 0. And it said na, kailan ba nagiging halos na wala na resistance yung transmission lines? When it is made of pure conductor, baka gawa sa ginto yung conductor mo or gold, no? Hindi tayo gumagawa ng gold na conductor, no? Ipang-wiring mo, wala agad yon, di ba? So, another one is practically not existing, only approximated line exists. So, sabi ko na kanina, hindi naman talaga nag-i-exist. Nasa langit pa yan. The field components propagate along the line with speed dictated by L and C. Kasi nga ang R is 0, so anong meron lang? Inductance and capacitance. Imposible yon. Palaging may resistance dahil may length ang transmission lines. So far, up to this point, is there any question, guys? Hello, hello, hello.
Wala po, ma'am.
Nabigla ba kayo? Marami
Wala
talaga
pa naman
dito.
po, ma'am.
Wala. Okay, very good. So sana nagkakaintindihan tayo kung walang tanong. We move on to the next type of transmission lines. After lossless, the infinitely long transmission lines. Ayan. It says here, a transmission line is infinitely long if only forward propagation wave exists. Ibig sabihin, ay papunta lang lahat doon sa load. Wala nang pabalik. You will find out later. Imposibleng walang bumalik. Lahat ay incident signal, imposible. Magkakameron palagi at kahit anong gawin mo na reflected wave. Kasi halimbawa, katulad nito alon, no? 'Di ba? Ang alon magpupunta sa shore. Okay? Alangan namang pag ano ng alon at tama sa shore, walang tatalsik. That's impossible, no? 'Di ba? And then line can be lossy or lossless. Okay? Okay, so question? Wala. And the third type has this characteristic, distortionless, yung hindi nasisira yung sine wave. This is line whose impact on propagation wave is independent of frequency. Nasabi ko na kanina. Generally, lossy line, no? Wala nga distortion, lossy siya. With attenuation constant, phase velocity, and characteristic impedance independent of frequency. So, kung ang attenuation ay nadidecrease ang signal, may tinatawag na yung alpha is attenuation constant. No? You will learn them as we go on. Then phase velocity, you will know of this also, as well as the characteristic impedance. Now, for a distortionless lines, the line parameter, remember this, R over L equals G over C. In deriving for the characteristic impedance, gagamitin natin. Pwede bang itong L over R, C over G? Pwede ba yan? Will L over R equals G over C equal to L divided by R over L equals G over C? Equal ba yan sa L over R equals C over G? Equal ba yan doon? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Oo naman, babaliktarin mo lang. Binaliktad mo tong nasa kanan na fraction, babaliktarin mo rin to. Equal lang yon. Tama? Kasi in the derivation, baka hindi mo ito actual na makita, kundi ka baliktaran. So pag inano mo yan, equal pa rin. Okay, since it is 11:30, we stop from here. We shall continue by next meeting. If you have no more question, however, if you want to clarify something, you may do so. Hello guys, any question?
Wala po, ma'am.
Wala.
Wala po, ma'am.
Okay. That will be all for now. By the way, I already announced in the group page that by tomorrow, walang pasok tayo. No? So tapos, na-send ko na rin doon yung grouping ha. Hindi ko na binago. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, ganyan ang grouping. Kaya pakitandaan, especially the leader and the assistant. Hindi ko na sasabihin, Mr. So-and-so, Mr. So-and-so, hindi. By group. So, dapat alam ninyo yung group number ninyo. So, yung leader, sasabihin, pakinotify yung members nyo kung anong group number kayo. Okay? So, bale, since we will not meet on Tuesday, we shall meet on Friday. Sa Friday, doon na yung presentation sa ECE05 and continuation of lecture in methods of research. Okay, so that will be all for now. Keep safe always, guys. So you may now take your leave.
Thank you,
Thank you,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Thank you po, ma'am.
Thank you po, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.